It all comes down to this. Today we're talking WandaVision Episode 9, the series finale, as the episode of the title indicated. We're not getting any more WandaVision. This is it. There was some speculation among fans. Maybe we're getting another season. Maybe Vision will live on. Clearly not. Obviously, spoilers are ahead. We're discussing everything that just went down on the series finale of WandaVision this past week. But we got to bring on the cast and crew here. Chris here to help me break down the show. Chris, the Doc Mueller at BR_Doctor on the Twitter machine. Chris, welcome back as always.
Thanks, man. I'm so happy to be talking about this.
We got a lot of stuff to talk about. And as always, we're discussing this in the immediate aftermath of the episode. I don't really put these up until like Saturday, Sunday, but we're talking about this right after we watched it. Phil, you're back as well at PhilDL616 on the Twitter machine. Phil, what's going on, dude?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing great. And we got a very special guest here today. Tom, you and I have known each other for a long time, as well as Chris, Phil. We've all known each other for a while. You said this before we went live here. First time talking on the phone, though, so really happy to have you on. You're on the Twitter machine at Tom Clark Writes. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. What's going on, Tom? Welcome to the show.
Not much, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. This should be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
So I already asked this before we went live here, but just to kind of get your general thoughts on the show so far. I didn't even know you were a WandaVision MCU fan. You've been following this comic stuff, Marvel, for a long time. Before we go any further with the show itself and the series finale, what have been your thoughts on WandaVision and just being an MCU fan up to this point?
I love it. I've been... I heard all the rumblings about the show starting so slow and it's slow pace and where they're going with it. And I'd be lying if I said I didn't join in that chorus a time or two. But at the same time, in the back of my head, I'm thinking they're telling a story. It's like pro wrestling, man. Just be patient. Just wait it out, and hopefully you'll get a payoff in the end. Don't know if we got that, but we'll get to that. But no, I've enjoyed the show, man, and hats off to the cast and crew because they really brought their A game in this series, man. I was impressed with it overall.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, and I'm so glad we have 4 people here on the call today to talk about this, because not just probably even among us, but just the entire Marvel fan base right now, there's a lot of mixed opinions coming out of the show. There's just so much to say about this episode and the show overall, but specifically with what we've been talking about up to this point. Chris, Phil, and myself, we've been talking specifically about the big surprise. We hear the talk of the Luke Skywalker stuff and Paul Bettany's line about wanting to work with this actor, which was clearly himself. He confirmed that I think this past week. The director of the show came out a couple days ago and said that people will be disappointed by the series finale with all the fan theories out there, at least as far as from that standpoint. From a storytelling standpoint, I thought this was a great episode. But again, there's so much to get into. But my first question for all you guys, Tom, I'll actually start with you. Did this episode live up to the hype here? Did this meet your lofty expectations, or was this not what you thought it would be?
If I say no, I'll sound like a villain. So I won't say no. I'll say by the end sequence, I felt a little empty. Mm-hmm. And maybe because I was built up with the possibility of Doctor Strange, because in my head, Doctor Strange was going to show up in the last scene, or at least the post credits. So I kind of felt a little empty. I didn't hate it, but I just kind of felt like, okay, the post credits, let's go look at that. And then nothing happened really, and I'm like, okay, well, that'll be good enough, I suppose.
And it's funny, too, because we got actually 2 post-credits in this episode. In the last 2 episodes, we had 1 in the mid-credits, and then we had 2. So we had 1 here. And again, we'll get into all of this, and we're all over the place here. But the first mid-credit scene of this episode saw Monica in the theater at Westview, and she met up with the... it wasn't the same Skrull, right, guys? Like, it wasn't the same one from Captain Marvel. That was a different Skrull. Is that correct?
I believe so.
Okay. I don't know if it was the same one that she met, like the little girl Skrull from Captain Marvel. Did I say Captain America? I meant to say Captain Marvel. But yeah, so we had that mid-credit scene setting up, I would assume, either a Monica show or probably Captain Marvel 2. I'm not sure. Ooh. But then we had the post-credit scene. And I didn't think there would be one because we didn't get one in the last 2 episodes, but we got one here. And all it showed was Wanda off on like in the mountains or whatever, all by herself. Kind of 2 versions of her, one drinking coffee or whatever, and the other one looking at the Darkhold, and you hear the screams of her kids while she's reading the book with the Scarlet Witch outfit on. And I think that's where I personally was expecting some sort of a cameo, whether it be Doctor Strange or something. I know there was a lot of Mephisto talk. That didn't happen. And I don't think that's the show's fault, because I feel like, honestly, if you only watch the show, I feel like you wouldn't have been expecting something big, at least, from my point of view. Because I've been reading all the interviews, I've been hearing all the talk online, and we didn't get that. I'm not sure what the Luke Skywalker-esque moment was supposed to be. Maybe it was her in her outfit. I'm not sure, but I want to get your guys' opinions. Phil, what were you thinking about this episode? Did it meet the hype for you? What were your thoughts on it overall?
I don't know if I would say it met the hype. I mean, we talked about it last week. I pretty much said that I knew people were going to be disappointed. I knew there wasn't going to be any finality to this episode. So I knew people weren't going to like that. And, I mean, it were certain things that I wanted, like, just like a better ending to. But I was satisfied with it for the most part. When the post-credit scene started, when the mid-credit scene started, and I watched it because, every episode I watch and I kind of just leave it playing. This was the first time I noticed that the credits were rolling and it didn't minimize. I was like, okay, so something else is coming because it didn't go smaller and it stayed full screen. But yeah, the two Wanda thing is very much a callback to House of M. Mm-hmm. After House of M, she went and lived in the mountains, and there is an issue of New Avengers, I think, where Hawkeye tracks her down, and he ends up, having like an interaction with her in the mountains, and we find out later that she's not really there. It's a double, and like the real Wanda is somewhere else. So when I saw that, I immediately popped. I was like, oh, it's exactly like the comic.
Mm-hmm. Do you think this might be leading into either Doctor Strange 2 or the Hawkeye show? Because isn't that coming out? I don't know if it's this year. It might be next year. But do you think that one, even before Doctor Strange 2 comes out, which I think might be at some point next year, I don't remember. Do you think we might get some sort of tie into this with the Hawkeye show coming out before then?
I don't. I think the next time we'll see her is probably Doctor Strange. I mean, it would be cool to see her and Clint interact again, but I'm guessing the Hawkeye show is going to be totally about Clint, like his new sidekick / protege.
Yeah, most likely. What about you, Chris? What were your overall thoughts on the episode, and did it meet the hype for you?
It's weird because I think we all had all these different theories and ideas of what we wanted to happen, but I had a conversation with a buddy of mine the other day, and I think I decided, like, halfway through that conversation that I didn't want there to be a big cameo. I wanted the finale to be all about Wanda and Vision and closing out this story, and I didn't want anything to distract from that. So in that aspect, I was actually very happy because all the focus was on the characters it needed to be on. Did they probably build people up a little too much with some of their comments and interviews? Yes. But, that is what it is. Marvel does that kind of weird stuff all the time. They have people intentionally leak spoilers and fake spoilers to mess with people. So it's just the fact that WandaVision was happening over a 9-week span or 8-week span, whatever this was, it just allowed people's minds to kind of run wild. And naturally, when that happens, just like with Lost, people are going to be disappointed when things don't turn out to be what they wanted them to be. But I like all the different things that they did to wrap up the different character stories. I like what they did to set up the future. They left certain things unanswered that, like, it makes me want to know more. So I think it was a successful finale. I really, really enjoyed, like, just everybody's performances in it. So yeah, I think it worked as a finale to this episode, but I understand why people are frustrated or possibly a little let down. I do get that, but at the end of the day, for me, this was their show, and I'm glad that the last episode really did just hone in the focus on them instead of trying to plant all these millions of seeds for something else. And a bunch of the things we've talked about did come true in this episode. Like, we were right about several different things that we've speculated over the course of the entire show.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we mentioned, I don't know if it was last week or the week before, but I think it was either you or Phil that had mentioned that Agatha probably wasn't going to die, nor should she. Catherine Hahn has been one of the biggest stars to come out of the show with her performances throughout the entire series. I'm glad she didn't die. I'm glad she's still around. One question I had on that, though, that I was a little confused, and there were actually a lot of things I wanted to ask you guys about, but one thing was that I thought early on the feeling that I got from her character was that she was just really troubled, and I guess that is still the case, But Wanda made it sound like she took the powers from all the other witches because she wanted to. I thought it was because it was like an accident that I don't know. When she was taking the power from all the other witches on the last episode, they kind of made it sound like here that she did that all on purpose, that she's this, just all around evil person. Though even though in the comics she's kind of associated with Wanda, which I guess they kind of hinted at here by saying that she would be back. If I ever need you, I know where you are. Can you kind of fill in the blanks there, Chris, for me in terms of how they portrayed Agatha on the show and if it was true to the comics and whatnot?
Well, I mean, they definitely took her in a different direction from the comics, but I like that they kept her alive. Her, Wanda forcing her to basically become the nosy neighbor she was pretending to be. I thought that was a really creative way to sort of trap her without bringing in Doctor Strange or having her being taken by sword or killing her. Mm-hmm. But what did interest me the most was she's like, you don't understand what you've unleashed. You're going to need my help. Obviously, that's going to send people speculating down the rabbit hole about Mephisto again, or Nightmare, or a million other things that could potentially be released by whatever she thinks happened. And now that we know for sure that book was the Darkhold, that opens up a whole other slew of possibilities. So yeah, it's cool what they did with Catherine Hahn's character, though. I was surprised that she did basically end up being portrayed as, I think evil's the wrong word, because I feel like even though she comes across as pretty maniacal, mm-hmm. she really does see the danger of what Wanda is capable of. Like, look what Wanda did. Like, those people, when they came out of that trance, were tortured.
Yeah.
And I'm not siding with Hayward or Agatha by any means, but I can understand the viewpoint of Wanda is not able to control these powers like she should be able to, and therefore we need to remove them. But obviously now she has this Darkhold thing, so she's going to unlock a whole new level of her Super Saiyan final form, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. Yeah, that was one thing I was a little confused on. So at the very end, at the very end of the episode, when the hex is lifted and everyone goes back to normal, she just kind of walks through the crowd and then just ditches them. So she never really faces the consequences of her actions. Because I know what she did was more so just to bring back Vision and have the kids and whatever. But I mean, at the end of the day, she never really faces the consequence. She just kind of up and leaves. Without actually, you know what I mean?
What's Kitty Foreman gonna do to her? Like, the mom from that '70s show isn't doing shit. They were scared shitless of her walking down that street. I am not surprised she walked out without any trouble at all.
I know they weren't gonna beat her up or something like that, but they made it sound like after the hex was lifted, like Westview before the curse was put in place was a shithole. Like, it's terrible. Like, the house, there's nothing there. The people looked miserable to begin with, so she honestly might have been doing them a favor. But they didn't act that way when they came out of the curse, and they were like, yeah, we were tortured, like you just said, Chris. I thought she was going to maybe, I don't know if put another hex on it is the right word, but, do something to make it look better, or to give these people something to make up for all the pain they've endured. Especially her pain, because they made that pretty clear here that when they went to sleep, they would see her nightmares. So that's some pretty serious shit. And then she just up and leaves, and it's like, all right, how do these people, what do they get for their troubles? You know what I mean? That was one thing that I kind of felt that was unresolved there, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, they are still all stuck in New Jersey, so there is that.
Yeah, I guess that would explain it. Phil, you were right, too. They didn't kill off Hayward, so he's still around, too.
Yeah, hey, I don't remember which episode I said, and I was like, this is pretty much the Hayward heel turn.
Yep.
We watched Hayward try and shoot kids in this episode. He's totally the big bad of the show.
Yeah.
So yeah. He tried to shoot an unarmed black woman and two small children. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, why was he shooting her? That didn't make any sense. I know he was shooting at the kids, but, he even continued to shoot even after she was already standing there. He had no reason to shoot Monica. What'd you say, Phil?
He unloaded the clip.
Yes, he did.
that confused me. Like, I know he got arrested in the end, but hopefully he suffers a punishment a bit worse than that, just because he literally, like you said, tried to kill 2 kids. And Monica, it's not like she just jumped in the way and it was like 1 bullet. No, he literally like fired off like 6 rounds on her, like when she was standing right there. I just didn't really know why he did that. Like, I don't know. It felt a little weird. Like, if it was Wanda, I would almost understand, because clearly he had an issue with her or Vision or whatever. But then he tried to shoot Monica for, like, no reason. So I thought that was a little bizarre. But yeah, any other big questions that you had coming out of this episode, Tom, in regards to the stuff that you felt was unresolved or you wanted to see? Or do you think they did a good job of tying up all the loose ends here?
I think Hayward and Agatha were tremendous. Mm-hmm. However, in my opinion, it's one of those instances where I know they're the heavies, but I'm not sure why. Like, I don't know if I ever got Agatha's intention clear. And maybe I missed a soundbite somewhere. I missed a line of dialogue. I don't recall her ever saying, Wanda, you got this power and I want it. I'm taking it. I mean, I know she said I take power, but the whole time she's hitting her with it, is she hurting her? Does she like it? I can't tell. And then when they've got her tied to the stake, her expression changes so fast. Like, did she want the witches dead or she didn't? So I came away more than once thinking, I love Catherine Hahn. She's great, but I can't figure out what I'm looking at. Is she the heavy? Is she not? So that goes back to the writing for me. Not bad, and maybe I just missed something somewhere. But that would be, if I had anything I would label as a complaint from this show, I would label it at that, not just with her, but with Hayward, because there's that moment when Wanda goes back to get Vision's body, and, he plants the seed for her taking the body or whatever, bringing him back to life. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, he seemed very sincere, and I thought, man, maybe he's not the bad guy here after all. So I don't know. Leave it to Marvel to give you a villain that you want to hate, but maybe you can't, and that's fine. I love that. But I don't know. I guess I was waiting for a mustache twirling moment from one of these two, and for me, I never really got it.
Yeah,
shooting a kid wasn't enough of a mustache.
Oh, okay. Well, no, that's bad. That's bad. But to be fair, so how real are the kids? How are they? I mean, if she created Vision and he's actually a solid entity, and we assume he is, but like, are the kids flesh and bone? Are they blood? Are they oxygen? Are they? I don't know. Are they actual matter? Are they magic? Are they? I don't know, because once the illusion of Westview was gone, they're gone, supposedly, till the post-credits thing. So, not to excuse the grown man shooting children, I'm just saying, like, I don't know. Are they supposed to be real, actual, living, breathing, tangible humans at that point?
That's a good question. I don't know. I thought it was pretty clear that Hayward is the big bad of the show. I thought that was clear for a few episodes. I think Agatha is kind of a big bad, but I think she's kind of a red herring, because I didn't get the feeling that, she was like, I'm going to kill this entire coven of witches just because I want to do it. I think they attacked her and she was defending herself. And once she defended herself, it's like, oh, you won't teach me, so you guys don't deserve your powers. I'm just going to take it. And she said that later in the episode, that's what I do. I take powers from somebody that don't deserve it. And so I think the way she looks at Wanda is almost like, you're lazy. Like, you have all of this power, you have all of this raw power, and you don't know anything. Like, you're not even trying to learn anything about it. Give it to me. I know what to do with it. And I don't think that makes her necessarily a bad guy. I think she's just looking at it like, no, this is too much raw power in the hands of somebody that's reckless. And, now, we don't know what she planned to do with it once she got it.
Yeah.
But their entire fight is very reminiscent to the flashback from the beginning of last episode, and how she killed the Coven of Witches. Like, the way that Wanda eventually ends up beating her is very similar.
So that was another question I had too. Again, maybe this is just me being an idiot and I missed something, but how was she able to harness Agatha's powers even though she gave him their powers? Like, did she fake that? Like, what was going on there? Because that confused the hell out of me.
What do you mean? How did she harness Wanda's powers?
So, like, when Agatha took Wanda's powers, Like she was like, all right, give me, just keep hitting me. Like Tom was saying, like she was like, oh, give me your powers, and then she was like hitting her with the blast of whatever, and she acted like she was hurt by it, but in reality, she was taking her powers or something. Again, I'm just confused. So
the runes. She was, whenever she was missing Agatha with one of her shots, she was turning the wall of the hex into those runes that Agatha had specifically pointed out only allow the witch who casts them to cast magic within them. So she basically turned the whole town into a neutral zone that Agatha could no longer do magic in.
Oh,
which I totally called last week, by the way.
Did you?
Yeah, I did notice that.
I was like, she made a big show out of talking about these ruins. That's how she's going to beat her.
Okay.
Yeah. I think as far as her taking hits from the magic and getting hit, I think she was just getting hurt by the blunt force of it. Kind of like getting shot and you have a Kevlar vest on.
Okay.
It's not enough to really like hurt you to kill you, but it's hurting you because it's like it's blunt force. But at the same time, she was absorbing it. Yeah, I mean, I don't think that we got a great, explanation of how Agatha's powers work. But I do think like that her whole plan was to just, I'm going to take your powers and I'm going to leave you in this fantasy world where you want to be anyway.
Yeah. No, yeah, I thought that was well done. And then another thing too, off of that. What I was going to mention, we've talked about Age of Ultron literally on probably every episode for 9 of these reviews. We've probably talked about Age of Ultron, at least 7 of them. I love the callback to Age of Ultron when she did the mind thing, when Wanda did the mind thing to Agatha. Has she done that since Age of Ultron, anyone? I know she tried it on Hawkeye then, and it didn't work in that movie. But has she tried that since then on anyone?
I don't think so.
She did it to all the agents when they all like pointed their guns at Hayward really quickly when she came out of the hex with the drone a few episodes ago.
Was that the same thing? Like I'm talking about like when she did like the flashbacks to people,
Oh yeah. I don't know
if like she's giving them the power of suggestion to make them see something else.
That's right. Yeah,
okay.
And then Agatha turns out to be like in control of that too. But the part I loved about that was when she's up on that roof and you see Wanda like come up from behind her. It was that really jumpy animation that they used in Ultron when she surprised the shit out of Cap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
When I saw that, I was just like, oh, they brought back that little weird effect. Like, it's so creepy looking because, like, it's almost like she's moving frame by frame instead of stepping.
Yeah.
And I thought it worked perfectly for that scene. And, like, for her to get the drop on Agatha like that was brilliant. I loved it.
Yeah, I thought also, too, the way that she said goodbye to Vision at the end was great. The way that she said goodbye to the kids was great. Really emotional stuff. I'm just really surprised that, I mean, we've only known the kids for a couple of episodes, to be honest with you. I'm surprised we didn't get any more resolution with the brother. Because I said, before that I figured they would bring back Aaron Taylor Johnson, if only for a cameo, maybe for her to say goodbye. She said goodbye to Vision, or hello, as she said. But we never got anything more with the brother. I know we'll talk about Ralph Boner in a second. I mean, that's a whole other thing. But were you guys surprised that there was no more talk of Pietro at all after all this talk since the beginning of the show?
I don't, because I think the episode when he kind of revealed himself, when he said, your dead husband's gonna die again, she knew that he wasn't really Pietro, and that's when she hit him with the hex bolt. At that point, I think she was over it. She was like, "No, I know you're not Pietro now, so you can get out of here."
I think she even told the kids in the next episode, that man is not your uncle. Do not listen to him. Didn't she say that? Yeah.
Well, I figured that, but I just figured they would come full circle with it because she never really got to say goodbye to him. So I don't know. I thought they would bring him back or have him do something, but I guess not.
But you gotta give Marvel credit. Like, that was the ultimate troll job.
Oh, major troll.
They cast Evan Peters knowing everybody would immediately jump to, this is the mutants. This is how we bring in the mutants. Either he got pulled in from the multiverse or Agatha did something to resurrect him, and this is what we like. No, he's some random dude named Ralph Boner whose house Agatha was basically slumming in.
And he was the mystery person, right? Was he the was that what they revealed here? Was that he was the missing person from episode 1?
He was the missing person. I didn't even catch that.
Yeah. And then there was the documents that he was, or that Monica was looking at, I think.
Well, that looked like a headshot for an actor to me.
Well, that.
Yeah.
But before
It had
then,
his name.
she saw. I could have sworn she was looking at documents that said his name on it. In addition to the headshot, I'd have to go back and watch
Right.
it. But I thought if that's not it, then I don't know what they were doing.
Man, because I thought that was a dangling thread they never went back to, the whole witness protection person.
Yeah.
So do you think that's who it was supposed to be then?
Probably, because I don't think he would live in Westview. It doesn't seem like it.
Well,
maybe.
I mean, it is kind of an out-of-the-way town. It is the kind of place where in movies and TV shows they stick witness protection people.
Oh, no, yeah, for that. No, yeah, I'm saying that I don't think he was already living in Westview in terms of, like with the rest of the community. I think he is the missing person, and that's why he was there. Because otherwise, why would this aspiring actor be in, like, the shithole of a town? I don't know, whatever. So,
Right.
why did he have Quicksilver's powers, then? Because he moved quickly when he dodged, that
Had to be
confused me.
part of Agatha's, like, thing. Like, she endowed him with super speed or something, I just assumed.
Okay. Yeah. That confused me. We never found out who the who Monica's friend was, right? Not friend, the whatever that we speculated on for a long time.
So I was going to ask, is the girl who showed up at the end who ended up being a Skrull are we supposed to take that as like the aerospace engineer reveal, or was that just a random other person?
I think that was just a random other
they
person.
they never implied that was supposed to be it, and it just seems so weird that some of the cast members were like, "Trust us, that reveal's going to pay off." And it's
Did
like,
they
no.
say that? I mean,
Somebody did. I think it was actually Teyana Paris,
really?
like the girl playing Monica, who's like, "Just wait, you'll see." And it's like, okay.
Maybe we should just revoke these like people's interviews abilities for like this entire show going forward, because I feel like this only does more damage than good. Because like I said earlier, I feel like if we just watch the show, at least for me personally, because I get my hopes up way too much for shit like this, and then it doesn't happen, I feel more disappointed, like Tom was saying earlier. So I don't know. There was some. I still had some unanswered questions, but I guess the missing person was Ralph Boner. I thought that was just stupid. I was really expecting more there. I don't know. Maybe it's just because Marvel it just has this tendency to pay things off really, really well. So when they don't, I'm disappointed. And that was kind of the case, at least with the Ralph thing. Everything else, I thought...
I respect it. I laughed my ass off. Especially when she goes, "Your name is Ralph Boner," and he just giggles and goes, "Boner." Like,
It's
come on.
it's
That was
2021 Trevor Slattery. It's totally Trevor Slattery all over again.
Yep.
Good call.
That's perfect. Oh my God.
Jeez. What were your thoughts on it, Tom?
Honestly, they can do this again anytime they want to. He can totally come back as Quicksilver from the other universe, and it could just be a wink and a nod, much in the same way that Don Cheadle becomes Rhodey in that courtroom scene, and Downey looks at him and says, "What are you doing here?" And he says, "Don't even start with me." And it's just that very subtle moment where you're like, "I know what that was. That was them going, yeah, we replaced the other guy. This guy's much better."
Yeah.
So they could take that back anytime they want to, and he could still be a part of it, man. I think it'd be fine.
What about what happened with White Vision? What was going on with that? I know he obviously transferred the memory. I understood that. I thought they were doing that, to be honest with you, because he was going to give all of his memories to White Vision, and then White Vision, because he came from the outside world, would live on. He would be able to live on through White Vision, but we didn't see him again. So can you guys shine some light on that? Because I was kind of confused by that too.
Question is, where did he fly off to? That's what I'm thinking. I mean, where could he have gone to learn something, to ask questions, to fly around the world and educate himself? Like, where did he go exactly?
So he's still alive, you think?
Oh yeah,
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, to me, I thought it was very clear that Vision was like, once you created the paradox, your mission is to kill Vision, but you are Vision.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
Once he created the paradox, I thought that was brilliant. And I mean, going and using the Theseus theory to trick him was brilliant. And I mean, I got the feeling that he just unlocked all of his stored memory of who he was. But that didn't make him like the version of Vision that we know. He's just like a rebuilt version of that body, but he doesn't have any of the emotions attached to those memories. He just has all his memories.
Oh, okay. It just felt like a copy and paste, like you're taking a file or something, then you're just copying it, but it's not the original, so it's still out there somewhere,
Right.
I thought he might. I thought Wanda would encounter the new White Vision with all the memories, maybe in the post-credit scene or something. But
Yeah,
I
but
guess not.
he
I don't
doesn't.
know.
He doesn't have any emotional attachment to Wanda. He's a robot with all of Vision's memories, but
Yeah.
he doesn't have the Mind Stone, so he doesn't have. He's not emoting in the same way that our Vision does. So he is he's essentially like the White Vision from the comics. Like, he has all his memories, but he is basically a blank slate.
Yeah. What do you think he went off, or what do you think he went off to do exactly?
I have no idea. That's a good question. I thought we were going to see him again when he flew out the window, but he's definitely going to be back. They're not going to just leave that out there. But that is a good question. Where did he go? Because, once he has all those memories, the question is, what is he going to do with them?
Exactly. What about you, Chris? You got any theories on that?
I don't know. I'm really curious to see how they go forward with this. I mean, the obvious option would be to bring him into Doctor Strange as well, because Elizabeth Olsen will be there. But I would almost rather they give Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany another season. Call it something else other than WandaVision, Call it Wanda and Vision or something. But like, after Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness wraps up, if Wanda's still alive, which, let's hope she is, then let them reconnect and let her try and figure out how to stuff Simon Williams in there or something. Like, let's give them more, because this show, I'm never expecting the sitcom format to return, but I feel like this format suited these characters so well, and there's so much more they could do with it now that they have the White Vision thing to work with.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was really curious what was going to happen, and then we didn't get that resolution. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do with him. I'm just glad Paul Bettany is going to stick around, because it's like we got the emotional payoff of Wanda having to say goodbye to her Vision, but then we also get to keep Paul Bettany in the MCU, which is always a plus. So like, we kind of get to have our cake and eat it too with this outcome, which makes me happy.
It reminds me a lot of Gamora and how she died in Endgame, but we still have her technically the 2014 version of her, so it kind of feels like that type of thing.
And Nebula killed her other self.
Yeah, she did. Well, that's the modern day Nebula, right? That wasn't the 2014 one that lived on.
Well, right. I'm just saying, like, there's now like 3 different characters who've sort of killed different versions of themselves, or at least seen them die.
Yeah.
It's really taken on comic form, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead,
What
Phil.
if Vision flew to Wakanda? Because we never got like a resolution of what Shuri was trying to do to Vision before it got interrupted.
That's
Like,
right.
What if he flew to Wakanda for something, and that's where he went?
Or what if he flew to Wakanda because he's just like, hey, my vibranium body belongs to you.
Oh, that'd be hilarious.
Didn't they say in Infinity War that, like, I know they didn't say, like, he absolutely needed the Mind Stone, but they implied something along the lines like, oh, what if we just take out the Mind Stone? They said, I don't know if he'll live on. Like, they didn't say, like, oh, he'll die. They were just like, we don't know, and we just don't want to take the risk. So do you think he could live on just without the Mind Stone now that we have White Vision? Is that possible?
Yeah, I think so. I just think he's different from the Vision we know. He just doesn't have the same connection because of the Mind Stone.
Yeah.
Plus, if we get the multiverse, they could actually find another Mind Stone.
Possibly, but I hope they're done with the Infinity Stones for a while.
I think they are. I don't think we're going to see the Infinity Stones anytime soon.
You don't think we're going to find out with Captain America, like how he brought them back, right? Like, that's just a done deal.
I mean, honestly, give us that MCU series. Every episode devoted to a different stone and what, like, the crazy hijinks that he gets into trying to return them.
Well, the last one would have to be the Soul Stone, obviously, with him confronting Red Skull. Like, that would obviously have to be the last episode.
Yeah.
So,
I would love that.
Yeah. They set up a lot of stuff on this episode. This is probably, again, a dumb question, but were they setting up Monica to go meet Captain Marvel? Is that why they were pointing up? Because I'm thinking for a second, like, they're not talking about her mom, right? Like, they're not talking about, like, oh, she's dead, and, like, we'll go. I don't know. She's definitely talking about Captain Marvel, right?
Well, They used male pronouns, so I was assuming Fury.
Yeah. A friend of her mother's is in space with the Skrulls, because that's where Nick was last time we see him.
Yes, yeah, in Far From Home, right, in the post-credit scene. Yeah, no, that would make sense. I'm trying to think, because they didn't show what she was looking at. Maybe, like, they were pointing up because there was something there that we didn't see, or are they just pointing up? It's like, all right, he's in space, but because how would she know that? That was my thing.
Well, she made the comment about, like, somebody heard you were grounded and they'd like to meet you. And, like, yeah, I think it was just supposed to be her being like, it's up in space.
Yeah.
And that's where obviously where you've wanted to go for a while now.
Okay. I thought it was Captain Marvel or something. They just pointed up, so I was a little confused, so I'm a little slow when it comes to this type of stuff. It takes me a while to like completely understand. I just watched the episode like 2 hours ago. I haven't watched anything else, so I still gotta see other people's reactions. But were there any other questions you guys had or any thoughts that we haven't talked about yet from this episode? Or actually, one thing I forgot to ask you guys about. Tom, I'll start with you. What were your thoughts on the Scarlet Witch attire?
Love it. Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
She looks great. In my head, I went to Enchantress from the comics. I think I got the right name from Thor. And she's wearing all green, right? But for some reason, the headpiece and the outfit reminded me of that. But dude, she looked great. It's over the top because it's comic book, but it's not so over the top that if you saw her in real life, you would go, okay, what's this supposed to be? She just looks cool. I mean, I thought it was a nice mix of the old school plus the modern. I mean, thumbs up from me.
Yeah, I thought it looked fantastic. What about you, Chris?
Oh, yeah, it looked great. Like, they found a way to incorporate the classic look without it looking as cheesy as it did in the Halloween episode when she was wearing a Halloween costume. Like... That's, with that crown that she wears and, the goofy hair that she had, like, that's a tough line to walk, but they did a great job making her look, like, presentable and realistic.
What about you, Phil?
I thought they did a great job of, bringing in the headdress and doing a corset in a, tasteful way where it wasn't like before, oh, we got to get all the cleavage in there. But they didn't also like completely cover up and, throw a jacket on top of it. You still like get her shoulders and stuff out, and it all looks tasteful. Like it doesn't look like overly like comic booky like we see in a lot of movies.
Didn't she fight back against that or something? I could have sworn she said in an interview a while ago. She's like, yeah, I don't want to look like the Scarlet Witch character in the comic just because it just wouldn't be tasteful, like you said. I could have sworn she said something, but maybe I'm wrong.
Oh, she did. I think Whedon, there was some talk about doing close to what the comic costume was, and she told Whedon, like, I'm never wearing a costume. And, I mean, even in, like, the first few movies, like, it's, like, especially like Age of Ultron, like it's cleavage city. It's like, I mean, cool. It's cool and all, but I mean, I think she just got tired of it. Like, can I have something that's not? Come on, man. Like, can I get something that's like presentable, please?
Exactly. I especially think because there was no other female character that was wearing anything remotely similar to what she was. So if no other woman, they shouldn't have to wear that anyway. But if she's like the only character doing it, then why is she doing it in the first place? Even though I know that's what it's like in the comics, but it's like, why should she be subjected to that but nobody else? So I completely understand that. What was the other thing? Oh, we got to see Darcy on this episode, but we got to see her for like 5 seconds when she ran into Hayward, which was cool. But like, that was it. We don't see her. Was she in the post-credit scene with Jimmy Woo, or was that all that we saw of her in this episode?
No, they even commented how she's like, Darcy left. She said debriefings are for suckers or something along those lines.
Did she say that? When did she say that?
Monica said that to Woo.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
But, Darcy just piecing out and leaving is pretty on character for her. So I liked that.
What happened to, with Jimmy Woo? Was he in charge of the FBI or SWORD now? Because Monica made the comment, oh, authority looks good on you or whatever. So I don't know if he's just taking charge now or what's going on with that.
I mean, arresting officer, first on the scene. It seems like people were just sort of following his lead. Plus, he'd been there for a while investigating this whole situation, so it seemed to work. But I love that they showed how resourceful he was in this one. Like, bluffing Hayward, stealing the phone, breaking out with the cuffs. Like,
Yeah.
he was comic relief in Ant-Man, and it's awesome to see that he's actually a good FBI agent and not just some, bumbling idiot.
I need more Jimmy Woo. He was one of my favorite parts of the series. I think Randall Parker's fantastic, and we've praised him before here, but on the show. But I need more Jimmy Woo.
Do any of you guys know if they confirmed that an Agents of Atlas show is being made?
I don't think they did, but I mean, they're using Jimmy Woo, so I mean, I would assume. I don't know.
I don't know. That would be awesome, and it would be great if Darcy was on that too, because I doubt she's going to have a big part of Thor if she's even in it.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know.
I mean, everybody that's been in the show is going to be in another movie, pretty much confirmed. I mean, we already know that, like, Jimmy's going to be in the next Ant-Man. I wouldn't be surprised if Darcy's in
Monica will
Thor.
definitely be in Captain America or Captain Marvel too.
Yeah, for sure.
We didn't even talk about getting to see her, like, bust out her powers and stop those bullets. Like, how awesome was that?
Yeah, that was sick.
We kind of got confirmation of what she was doing in that post credits when she got captured by Pietro, or Ralph Boner. She when her eyes turned purple, it looks like she was just seeing a spectrum created by Agatha's powers, and that's why her eyes turned purple. And she did that again in this episode when she figured out how she was controlling him with the necklace.
Right, and then her eyes kind of turned yellow when we saw the bullets passing through her, and like her whole body sort of turned yellow too.
Right.
So I don't know. Yeah. I just thought that was a really cool scene, and then I loved the way the two kids just dominated the military in like 3 seconds. It's like one kid just to chance him real quick, the other kid runs around and takes every gun. And I don't know if you guys caught this, he stole an agent's sunglasses and hat just like Quicksilver did in Days of Future Past in that kitchen scene.
I didn't notice that. Nice.
Yeah,
that was cool. No, I didn't catch that. That's interesting. Yeah, no, they disposed of them pretty quickly. But I guess kind of going off of that, do you guys think we'll see the kids again at some point? I mean, obviously they teased it in the post-credit scene, the second post-credit scene, and there's still people on the Mephisto train thinking that maybe they will indeed be the spawn of Mephisto or the devil or whatever. Do you think we'll get some resolution with that? Because she said that we'll see them again at some point after looking at the picture, the family portrait of her, Vision, and the kids.
I think we're definitely seeing the kids again. I think the backbone of everything they've set up so far is clearly setting up Young Avengers. I mean, they're setting up, young Hawkeye and a Hawkeye show. Mm-hmm. I'm going to assume we're going to see Eli and the Cap in the Winter Soldier and Falcon show. I mean, they've pretty much acknowledged that they're going to do certain stuff from Truth. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see Eli in it. And then we got the twins in this. And I'm assuming, like we saw what's going to be Iron Lad at the end of Infinity War at the funeral. Mm-hmm. So I'm assuming like they are assembling the Young Avengers. So there's no way we're not going to see the twins again.
Yeah. You agree, Chris?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I don't think they would have included that post-credit scene if they weren't implying that she will somehow find a way to bring them back.
So why were they screaming for help? Are they in the book or something?
Ooh. Yeah, I wasn't sure about that. I almost wondered... There was something else I wanted to bring up really quick that might tie into this. So, Agatha, it seems like her magic is being drawn from the dark dimension because of, like, the purple color was used in Doctor Strange. It sort of denotes the dark magic. But you notice her fingers were also, like, super black and fucked up, which reminded me of everybody's eyes in Doctor Strange who were channeling the magic.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm almost wondering if instead of being wiped from existence, if they were somehow sucked into the dark dimension, and maybe that's why she goes to Strange, because he knows how to get there and has experience with Dormammu. I don't know. It's just an idea.
So do you think she'll... Or, sorry, go ahead.
Huh?
Oh, sorry, I thought you guys said something. No, I was just going to say that do you guys... do you think that she'll be working with Doctor Strange, or do you think that she'll still be positioned as kind of like the anti-hero of the film? Because Agatha at one point says, you guys, you don't know what you just unleashed. So I thought that was kind of a tipping point, like, there's more evil to come, or something along those lines. I don't know.
I don't think she's the heavy of Multiverse of Madness now.
Okay.
I think the wind's been taken out of those sails, in my opinion. I think what Agatha said is true. She's unleashed something, and she'll have to step up and help Strange. Essentially, it'll be, hey, I'm the reason for this. Let me help you fix it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. What do you guys think?
I thought it was crazy that we get confirmation that she is stronger than the Sorcerer Supreme in this.
Yeah, she said that.
Yeah, that was awesome.
And so I think that either she's going to seek him out for help, or Strange is going to come looking for her, like, what are you doing? And as far as, like, the kid screaming, I think that is the Darkhold, like, trying to, allure her into reading the book and trying to figure out how to get them back. Because they aren't real. Like, they don't exist. So they would be screaming. I think it's just all in a way to tempt her into learning more about dark magic.
Yeah, that would seem to make the most sense. I think the Darkhold is going to play a pretty big role in the Doctor Strange movie. So, I mean, we already knew that it was leading into the movie. Like Tom said, I figured we would see him. Honestly, the funny thing is that I was going to be disappointed if we saw Doctor Strange, just because of the talk of all this cameo. I think he was like the bottom of the barrel. Like, there could be so much more than that. But we didn't even get him. Like, there was literally nothing. So that's why I was a little disappointed. I think the Paul Bettany thing, obviously he was talking about himself. But with Elizabeth Olsen, we mentioned this last week, where she wasn't the one who had said, oh yeah, we're getting a Luke Skywalker moment. The interviewer said, do you think we'll get something along the lines of a Luke Skywalker moment? And she just said yes. So she never actually used those words. But do you think she was probably referring to the transformation into Scarlet Witch? Because looking at this episode, nothing else really makes sense.
Yeah, maybe she thought the Pietro thing was on that level.
Maybe. I thought the interview came out after that happened, but maybe not. I'm not sure. I thought they said there was more to that, but I don't know. Maybe not.
I don't know. Yeah, I think she was just trying to hype up the show, and people ran with it.
Yeah, I think if she's talking about I hope she wasn't talking about the Pietro thing, knowing that it was going to lead to a dick joke. So I don't know. Hopefully that's not what it was about. But I noticed this, but I thought this was cool. I don't know if you guys picked up on this. And it's literally the picture for the episode. If you go to Disney Plus, right before you watch it, it's them as a family, Vision, Wanda, and the two kids. That is so clearly, it has to be an homage to The Incredibles, when they do that exact same thing in The Incredibles. And they play the movies The Incredibles on the theater in one of the episodes on the show. So they had to have done. It's a family of superheroes. So I feel like that was definitely done on purpose.
Yeah, I definitely thought it was an homage.
Yeah, and she protected him with the port, not the portal, whatever the hell it's called, the shield. Like, she shielded them with her powers, a lot like in The Incredibles, the first movie. So, as a fan of that movie, I thought that was fucking cool. But was there anything that from this episode that we haven't talked about yet, that you guys don't think we got to yet?
Two small references that I wanted to point out. Mm-hmm. After Wanda first of all, Wanda using a car as a projectile weapon, just nice callback to Civil War, when she just buries Tony under a fucking garage full of cars.
Oh, right,
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But after she does that, she goes and looks under the car, and all she sees is the shoes, and it's like, okay.
It's a Wizard of Oz.
Wizard of Oz reference there. But did you guys see what was on the movie theater sign after things went back to normal?
No.
I saw Big Red and Kidnapped at one point, but I think that was during the phases when it was switching. That wasn't what it ended up being, I don't think.
Right. At the end, it showed a thing, and it said Tannhauser Gate, which isn't a movie, but it's a reference to Blade Runner and the movie Soldier with Kurt Russell.
Oh, okay.
So in Blade Runner, Rutger Hauer's character mentions a battle at Tannhauser Gate, and then in Soldier, which is supposed to be kind of like a spiritual successor to Blade Runner, mildly set in the same universe, it like actually has Tannhauser Gate as the space station that's featured in the beginning of the movie.
Oh, interesting. They've used the names of actual movies so far, but of all the movies they've used, have those been just Disney movies and that's why they can reference them? Or I wonder why they just didn't write Blade Runner.
I mean, it could have been a reference to something in the Blade Runner story, which is, a group of humans who are a group of android type things, replicants, that basically like look, act, and feel human. and there's Blade Runners that sort of hunt down the rogue ones, and over the years there's questions as to whether or not Harrison Ford was actually a replicant, but we won't go into that. mainly because I don't care. But I also just love that it's also a reference to Soldier, which had Kurt Russell, who's part of the MCU. But I also love that this show established that Steven Seagal exists in the MCU.
I was waiting for him to name drop a movie that he was in, but he just said Steven Seagal. I was waiting for him to put on a Steven Seagal movie, but unfortunately, it just didn't happen.
Right? Like, I wanted him to be like, do you like Steven Seagal? I got oh shit, what was that movie on a boat?
Movie on a boat? Oh, man.
Come on, you guys know. He was the cruise ship chef, and he, like, kicked all the terrorists' asses. It's a really famous one.
Oh, God. I mean, all those movies blend together, but that specifically, I don't know.
Under Siege? Is that it?
Yes.
I'm thinking it's Under Siege. Is that it?
I think it is. Yes, it's Under Siege. It is.
How would I even remember that?
Because it's definitely, like, his most famous movie.
What? And not put in Half Past Dead with Ja Rule?
Oh, my God, dude. Let's talk about Half Past Dead. That movie is awesome. I love Half Past Dead. And Goldberg is in the sequel.
Really? I didn't know that.
This is before I even started watching wrestling, but I saw Goldberg. I'm like, holy fucking shit, it's Goldberg. But yeah, that dude, I was thinking of Steven Seagal movies, and that was the first one that came to my head because Half Past Dead is a ridiculous movie. Holy shit.
I mean, let's face it, every Steven Seagal movie is pretty ridiculous.
Yeah. Oh man, now I gotta do a movie review on that. But,
yeah. What was his title? Like the American emissary to Russia? He was like Putin's favorite American or some shit.
Yeah, I think it was something like that. Yeah, isn't he friends with? He's friends with Putin, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's got the whole Dennis Rodman Kim Jong Un relationship.
Yeah, I was gonna say Dennis Rodman.
There was one other thing I wanted to mention really quick.
Mm-hmm.
So, with this is going to be really random. Have any of you guys ever played the Saints Row games?
I have not.
No.
So, the Saints Row 4 takes place in like a virtual reality, and the sky in the end of the show, when they're fighting and it's like just all red and cloudy and looks digital, looked exactly like the Saints Row video game. To the point where I was almost like, it feels like somebody on the digital effects staff just liked that game and was like, I'm just going to use that sky. Like it's uncannily similar how much it looks to that game.
It must have been intentionally. They had to have been done intentionally, I feel like, right? If it was that similar?
I mean, it's definitely just a random digital pattern, so it could have just been a coincidence, but it just immediately stuck out to me. I was just like, oh, that's definitely this guy from Saints Row.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this show's crazy. Like, I have a friend down in Florida who I was literally talking to last night at 2 a.m. when this show went on. I'm like, all right, I'm going to let you go and watch this. And she just decided to go to sleep. And then she texts me at like 6 a.m. after having only slept for a few hours and then watching it. And the response she sends me here, I want to read this exactly. So her message to me in the morning was, first Marvel anything to make me ugly cry.
I mean,
talking specifically about the scene at the end where like Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany just give a powerhouse performance, like saying goodbye to each other. Like that, we've talked about how these people all deserve awards for this, but like that's the scene that you send in to the committee for consideration right there.
That was a pretty great scene. Yeah, we despite my issues with this episode in terms of some of the lack of surprises and whatever, that was amazing. That almost brought a tear to my eye. The key word there is almost. But if I was going to cry about anything on this show, it would have been that. Yeah, that was really emotional. So I just look up people's reactions right after I watch these episodes, and that's what everyone's talking about. Aside from the complaining about no Mark Hamill or whatever else that people expected from this episode, but that was the top thing. So easily the best thing I think on this episode was that scene with Wanda and Vision, and then saying goodbye or hello or whatever the hell it was.
Yeah, I think all of the disappointing stuff in this episode was kind of the action stuff. It was like once it became a Marvel action thing again, it kind of exposed like what made the show so great. Is all of the intimate moments between them and all of the like stuff where they were just trying to be normal. Mm-hmm. And like all of the action stuff, it just felt like, okay, we've seen all of this before. Like we've seen similar things. It's like it's cool to see every now and then, but it didn't really move me. All of this stuff with them, and I mean, I would even say like this is like the best depiction of love in MCU that we've seen. And all of that stuff was really good. All of that stuff was handled well. Like even, I'm glad that they didn't go, okay, well, White Vision is Vision now, and give her a happy ending. Like she didn't really deserve a happy ending after everything.
Oh yeah,
she had to have some kind of consequences for everything. So to lose everything, lose her family, like that had to happen.
Yeah, I completely agree. So, yeah.
Are you telling me that this is a better love story than Bruce and Natasha?
Yes, I am.
I was going to tell you what it reminds me of, that end sequence where she's in that cabin and it's way away from any kind of civilization. It reminds me of Thanos after the first snap.
Yeah.
Where he's done what he did and now he's just going to be peaceful, but he's also lost something. I mean, he's the one that wreaked havoc. He's the one that did what he did. And in that moment when he's sitting down, like a grateful universe is smiling or whatever the line was, that moment for me was a callback to that, where like it's funny how the guy that took the thing from her that she loved the most, now she's kind of in the spot where I can't be around anybody. It's solitary life now. I have to figure this out. I mean, it's echoes for me back to the films for sure.
Yeah, that's a great observation. I didn't pick up on that, but that was definitely done on purpose, and that was a great way to close it out too. So especially with her connection to that character specifically, I'm sure it was definitely done by design, and they did a great job with that. And I mean, this poor girl. I mean, I know she was dusted away during the blip, but like she's seen people blip away. She's seen people get shot right in front of her. She's seen people. I don't know what you would even call it, but when Vision and the kids were like being taken away piece by piece on this episode, I mean, the amount of shit this girl has been through is just unbelievable.
Yeah, for sure. I just thought about something else. Like I've been running with the theory for a while that Vision did not kill Ultron. So we didn't see Ultron in this movie.
Yeah.
But what if Vision flew away like, oh no, I forgot like what I trapped Ultron in, and when Vision died, like it freed his consciousness. What if he flew away to, try to fix that?
Maybe. That's good stuff.
That's a good theory. If they were to do that, where do you think they would tie that up? Because any of all like the shows and movies coming out, like would it be in Doctor Strange? Because I feel like, I don't know. Clearly, we're going to see the White Vision shit again. I just don't know where it fits in with all these shows they have coming out.
Well, I mean, we're getting another Avengers movie at some point. It's probably not going to be in this phase, but we're getting some form of an Avengers movie again. And Ultron is an Avengers character, so I would guess if we're getting Ultron again, that this is a long-term thing. We're not going to see Ultron for a while.
Oh man, that makes me sad. So you're telling me that we'll go like 10 years without Ultron in between like movies and shit?
Maybe not 10 years, but even if Ultron is the big bad of the Young Avengers movie, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Actually, that would make sense, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, but I think we're definitely seeing Ultron again.
Yeah, they've teased it too much to just not do it. I don't know. I need to hear James Spader's voice again because I thought he was one of the best parts of that movie. I was secretly hoping that we were going to hear him, speak for White Vision here, but I don't think that would have made a lot of sense for them to use fucking Paul Bettany and then use James Spader's voice over. It would have just been weird. So maybe it's best that they didn't do it in retrospect. But yeah, I hope so. There's a lot of things that still give me hope, even though the show didn't deliver what I thought it would in terms of like the surprises. They still leave you hoping. With Marvel, there's always a chance they could do what you want them to do. It might not be for another 5 years, but there's still the chance that we can get all this shit at some point. whether it be Mephisto or Ultron or whatever. So, yeah, final thoughts on WandaVision, guys, as we wind down here. Tom, I'll start with you. What were your overall impressions of WandaVision episodes 1 through 9?
I love the show. I personally think this is it. And the fact that the last episode was entitled the series finale kind of sums it up. And if that's the case, I'm okay with it. And as I'll echo what Phil said earlier about the fact that Wanda is stronger than Strange. I mean, if given enough time on the battlefield, she would have killed Thanos. She would have ripped him apart. And comic book fans in the audience knew that. We all knew that. Casual fans who just love the Avengers maybe thought she's in over her head, but we already knew that she's more than likely the strongest person in the MCU, much in the same way Flash is the strongest person in the DC universe. I mean, forget Superman. I don't care what he can lift. But when you have the ability to manipulate time and change everyone's existence, it's on the same level of Wanda, in my opinion. So the fact that got over is very cool, and the fact that it's a female and she's unassuming is even better. Yeah. And it's just, I love the show. I think it's, I personally don't want to see a season 2. I think leave this alone, let it be a standalone thing we could enjoy for years to come and play off of it by all means. But for me personally, if they did a season 2, I'm sure it'd be great, but I'd be okay if they didn't do it as well.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think this is it, but I definitely think we're getting we'll definitely get more of this stuff in like other movies and shows, like you said. What it might be, I don't know. Like you said, Phil, it might be in the next Avengers film, which is definitely a couple of years off at least. But we'll see. We'll see. Obviously, Doctor Strange too. But again, I'm not sure if that's next week or not next week. I'm sorry, next year, or whenever that's going to be. What about you, Phil? What were your overall impressions of WandaVision this entire show? Do you think we're getting more of it?
I thought it was a great show, a very ambitious show. I think a lot of trolling they did was fantastic. I mean, they're smart enough to know, they read their own headlines. They know we're all waiting for them to do X-Men stuff. And I think them going, ha, this is X-Men stuff. No, it's not. We got it coming. Just wait. Or pointing and going, oh, this is multiverse stuff. No, it's not, guys. We're doing that. Just wait. We'll give it to you later. I personally loved the twist of, Ralph Bonner, because I love the Trevor Slattery thing. I didn't understand why people were so mad about it. It's comics, so why are we taking this so seriously?
Yeah.
So I thought it was funny. I mean, I think the fact that in 9 episodes they made Vision one of the best characters in the Marvel Universe is great. I think they made Wanda very, compelling. They made her a very interesting character. And I think that was one of my complaints with the Avengers movie, is that we didn't get a chance to really connect with those two characters as much as we should have. And this show totally fixed that.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Especially Vision. I could not have given 2 craps about Vision before the show came out. Just of all the stuff that he was in, I thought, oh my God, I'm Jarvis. I thought Jarvis was great. They referenced that, how he was, before he died or disappeared or whatever, he was like, oh, I was just a voice without a body, and now I'm human. All this other shit. I thought all the references were great, and I thought Paul Bettany did an amazing job. Catherine Hahn did a great job, as did Elizabeth Olsen. Yeah, like I said, I love Randall Park. I thought him as Jimmy Woo was fantastic as the comic relief, kind of coming in to his own here as a serious character by the end. I thought everyone did an awesome job. Even throwing in a random Thor character and Darcy Lewis, somehow she fit into this weird universe that was WandaVision too, and everyone did a fantastic job. Even Hayward. I mean, Hayward will probably be back at some point, considering he didn't die. So you were right on that as well, Phil. But Chris, your final thoughts on WandaVision and the show overall, and what do you think is next for them?
I mean, as far as what's next, I don't know. I'm just, at this point, I'm along for the ride. I already really liked Wanda and Vision for different reasons, but this show just solidified them as 2 of the best characters in the MCU now. And this show is my favorite. Like, this show is a collective, the whole season. It's my favorite single thing in the MCU now. So it's like the show as a whole surpasses any individual movie for me. Just the level of creativity, the amazing acting, the writing, the spot-on references to everything, the fact that they went to such great lengths just to make sure the Dick Van Dyke set looked so good. Like, this show did so many things right that any minor problems anyone could point out are just completely irrelevant because everything else about the show is so perfect. I don't know if we'll ever get anything else quite like this in the MCU. I hope we do. But it really did just highlight how important character and story development is when you've run out of big battle scenes. Like, let's face it, they blew their wad in Endgame. What are you going to do that's going to top that finale scene? You got to get creative now. And this show, despite the fact that we did get the obligatory Marvel action scene, both fights, the Vision versus Vision and Wanda versus Agatha, ended by use of their wits, not brute strength. Mm-hmm. Wanda used the runes to surround her and then just programmed her mind to think she was the nosy neighbor. Vision used the ship of Theseus thing to talk about identity theory, and I thought that was brilliant. And I feel like that's one of the things you get when you bring female creators into a space like this. And this woman, Jack Schaefer, who was running the show, obviously took great pain to make sure that she respected these characters while also trying to do something completely different. And I think she succeeded on both levels. So I'm just super happy that this turned out to be the first thing we got after this big, long pandemic period of not having anything new from Marvel. Because if we had gotten Bucky and Winter Soldier first, people would have been like, oh, all right, they beat some people up, cool. Like, this is what the MCU needs to be moving forward, is interesting stories and creative decisions.
Yeah, it's just so different. We've said it a million times before, and I don't want to sound like a broken record, but it's just so different than anything we've gotten up to this point from Marvel, and I think that's what made it such a great show. And I'm hoping they have so many shows coming out. There's so many shows in the next couple of years. I hope that the rest of these shows aren't going to be the same thing. I'm hoping that allowing them to do a different, like, the cool thing is that now we can get shows like this and Marvel, pieces of production or whatever from Marvel like this, if they don't want to do a full-on movie about it. Like, would this have worked as a movie? Maybe. I don't know. I mean, I think the structure of the show worked out perfectly in that you could do a different decade for each episode for the first 3 to 4 to 5 episodes. I thought that was amazing. I don't know if that would have worked as well as a movie, so I'm really glad we got the Disney Plus stuff now, and we have Falcon and the Winter Soldier coming out in a couple weeks. That's going to be complete Marvel 101 type stuff. But beyond that, and that should be a good show too, but we'll see what they do with the other shows. But are you telling me, Chris, that you got one of your favorite Marvel MCU related things and one of your favorite Star Wars related things, both on Disney Plus, within the span of like 3 months of each other?
I mean, who would have thought that the Disney overlords would actually allow this kind of I mean, other than the Pixar stuff, Disney really has a bad track record of just being mediocre. Like, especially when it comes to their live action stuff. So to see them embracing people like Jon Favreau and Taika Waititi and all these like really creative people and sort of just giving them the reins to do what they want within a certain space, it really just gives me hope that this whole idea of superhero fatigue is just not going to set in like people think it is.
Yeah, I don't believe in superhero fatigue personally. I know a lot of people keep trying to throw that out there, but people that are fans, we're not tired of this stuff. I mean, I have been reading comics or, watching some type of comic property for over 20 years. I'm never going to get tired of superhero stuff.
Yeah, especially if they keep finding new ways to tell these stories. Like the She-Hulk show is supposed to be like a half-hour comedy.
Yeah, I mean, as long as
That's
they do,
gonna be awesome.
yeah, as long as they do different stuff and they try to reach new audiences, I think it'll be fine. I think what they're planning to do with Miss Marvel, for example, is going to be great. I mean, the fact that we're getting Miss Marvel is fantastic in itself. And it sounds like, Winter Soldier and Falcon is gonna go into a lot of stuff with Sam as Cap. It's not just gonna be like Sam in the suit. It's gonna take on some of the social and political issues as well. And I think that's gonna make it an interesting show.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think a lot of these shows are going to be interesting coming up, and What was I going to ask you guys? Oh, did the whole superhero fatigue thing, real quick, did this start with the whole James Cameron crap from a couple of years ago when he was talking about that, and then he went on to announce fucking 5 more Avatar movies? Like, was he the one that started that whole narrative, or was that already, like, being talked about before he said it?
I don't know. That's one of those, egg before the chicken conversations.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a, film Twitter thing, or if that's like a, some film critic somewhere got tired of reviewing these things and he threw out that term and people ran with it. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, like you said, I don't believe in that shit either, because I think these shows have proved, and the movies have proved, that it's just, it's not true. And again, everyone's different. There might be someone out there that watched the show that felt like it was, too much Marvel, but I don't know how anyone in their right mind can think that this was not at least a good show, if not a great show. If you thought it was bad, or, probably Marvel might not be for you anymore, but, I thought this show was awesome, and I can't wait to see what they do next. And we literally only have to wait 2 weeks until Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So after all the shit that went down in 2020 and the lack of Marvel stuff that we got last year, Marvel's got us covered at least through the rest of 2021, which is cool with all these shows coming out, movies. I haven't heard anything about Black Widow, so I don't know if that's still coming out in May or April, if it got bumped again. I have no clue. The Eternals, I didn't even know still existed, because there has been zero talk about that. But they'll put out like a mini trailer for friggin' the new Spider-Man movie, so I don't know what's going on with that stuff.
Me neither.
Yeah,
There's a lot to look forward to, man. And as far as the superhero fatigue, I think Spielberg said it, Scorsese said it. I mean, look, they're the greats, and that's fine. But that's like suggesting to John Wayne, well, John, one day these war and Western movies are going to die out. And he's like, not in my lifetime, brother. As long as there's an audience, this audience was built from the ground up since we're kids. These movies are being made for guys in our age range, in my opinion. And we love this stuff. We consume this stuff. And, when you've got a little bit of disposable income to spend on comics and collectibles and stuff that was your childhood, dude, the well is endless, in my opinion. Is there a cap on everything? Sure, but I haven't seen it for this. I think what could kill this is a string of bad movies, which, knock on wood, we haven't gotten. So as long as the production is there, and in my opinion, as long as Marvel keeps handing its content to the right people with the right ideas who also grew up loving this stuff and who are fans themselves, it's a win-win for all of us, man. I think we've got years to go of this stuff.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't think there's really any end in sight, and that's a positive thing, because I think between the movies and the shows and how they continue to kind of differentiate everything from everything else in terms of the MCU content, that they have stuff to come for years, and it's really exciting. So I'm looking forward to it. But this has been awesome, guys, breaking down the show with you for the last 9 weeks, and Tom, for you joining us here today. This was great to get additional insight. That was WandaVision. So Tom, first and foremost, people can follow you on the Twitter machine at Tom Clark Writes. Anything else that the people should check out from you? I know you got a radio show, you write everywhere. Cheap plug some stuff for me, my man.
Yes, so my pro wrestling podcast is called Tom Clark's Main Event, and it's been up and going for 8 years now. And we go live every Friday on Wrestle Rumors Facebook Live, and it's also available on all the platforms. My second podcast, Phil and Chris both have appeared on it. Graham, I'll have to get you on it at some point. It's called Tom Clark's 6M Podcast, and we focus on movies, music, Marvel, magazines, miniseries, and more. So it's just sort of an umbrella pod that covers a lot of different stuff. It's a fun show. And yeah, it's just a way to scratch the nerd itch, and that's available on all the typical platforms as well. So yeah, fantastic. I appreciate you guys having me on, man. It was very fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And when we start doing the Falcon and Winter Soldier reviews very soon, in the next 2 weeks, we'll definitely have to have you on again in the future. Phil, people can find you on the Twitter machine at PhilDL616. You're everywhere as well. You're right everywhere. You talked to the Impact World Champion Rich Swann this week. Anything else you want to throw out there before we ride off into the sunset?
I just find my writing at Bleacher Report, of course, and Daily DDT. I think I am doing a post show this weekend for All Out with the guys at RBR.
Oh, nice.
Podcast. So, I'm somewhere in the interwebs, everywhere.
I'm glad you brought that up. We didn't get the major cameo or major surprise here in WandaVision, but I hope we get it on Sunday at Revolution. They're hyping up this huge Hall of Fame worthy signing. It better not be fucking like Scott Steiner or something stupid, or I don't know, Rob Van Dam. Listen, I love these people, but I don't know. I don't think it's gonna be CM Punk or some shit. I guess we'll find out on Sunday. But
it's gonna be Paul White. Paul White just introduced himself. He's just gonna have a different ring name. It's gonna be totally like Paul Bettany saying it's a great cameo, but it's just himself.
Yeah, exactly. Is this a Paul thing where they just hype up themselves or some shit like? Jesus Christ. Oh, my God. But, Chris, people can find you on the Twitter machine at BR_Doctor. You're everywhere as well. You talked to the AEW World Champion Kenny Omega this past week. Is that already up or is that coming out soon?
Yeah, that went up this morning.
Oh, perfect. Awesome. So people can check that out. But, yeah, any final thoughts before we wind down here?
No, just I'm hoping that the Falcon and Winter Soldier somehow finds a way to be as satisfying as this.
Hopefully. The hopes are up high, so I don't know if they'll be met, but I guess we'll find out pretty shortly. And also today, I mean, before we get that show in 2 weeks, we have the Coming to America sequel that came out today. I completely forgot until you mentioned it before we went live here. That went up on Amazon Prime this morning, and you actually already saw it, right, Chris?
Yes, I do recommend anyone who enjoyed the original go see it. It's a fun movie, and every scene that she's in, Leslie Jones steals the show. I don't think that's a surprise to anyone who's a fan of her. They did a really good job mixing the new young characters with the old classic characters, and it was great. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a worthy follow-up, much like how Bill and Ted, had a good, nice third movie. It didn't blow the other two out of the water, but it was a good enough follow-up. I felt like this was in that same realm.
And now I want Eddie Murphy in the MCU. Do me something. What'd you say?
Who could Eddie Murphy play?
I want Eddie Murphy to play Eddie Murphy the same way I want Bryan Cranston to play Bryan Cranston in the MCU. I don't know.
We know Bryan Cranston is Bryan Cranston in the MCU because Malcolm in the Middle is a thing.
Exactly, yeah. So, I mean, it needs to happen. It's only inevitable. If we get a show with those two in it at some point, take all my money, Disney. But this has been great, guys. Thanks so much for doing this, and I'll talk to you guys soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.